Spice FM's Facebook page, facebook.com/Spice FM.
For the community, by the community.
Very good afternoon. Don't answer all at once. Risaria, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay,
Doug.
come closer to the mic though. And how are the two gentlemen doing? Our regular features. They're not guests. They're not hosts. They're ghosts. But no, sorry, joke. So how are you, sir, today? Malcolm.
Not too bad.
How
Quite
bad?
well.
How bad?
Very well.
Okay.
Very well.
We have to go against the grain, Glen, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
By saying I'm not bad. So come a little closer to the mic. I put it up as much as I can.
Yeah, sure.
That's perfect. Yes, that'll do for all of us.
Yeah, I'm fine. Just
So what's been up with you, Glen?
I'm busy making things. As you, I don't know whether you know or not, but I do quite a bit of woodwork,
You told us, yes.
and I've been making a reading desk and a stand for a chalice.
My God, you're that good. I was thinking this morning when I was a little boy and couldn't afford an electric guitar. I took a Taisho Koto, which Malcolm knows about, I've mentioned.
Yeah.
And I put a Dodge or Chevrolet handle and I was playing it.
Yeah.
And then I got a whole guitar made. I was just thinking today, not about you, I didn't remember that aspect of you, about the carpenter who cut it into a guitar shape. So the bottom looked guitarish, but the rest was a solid fat body, all polished. And you know, there's a certain craft in all these things, which you're losing. It's all now machine made where? In China.
Yeah.
So it's all machines.
Yeah.
So we are losing the human skill of language. We are losing the human skill of hands doing things like painters. What do you think, Malcolm?
No, not fully, Doc.
None.
As far as I know, there was two companies founded about 50 years ago. One was Dalmash, and one was another German name.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, they're still around, and they make acoustic, ancient things like a lute and the medieval pipes and stuff like that. And they also make guitars too. And as far as I know, they're still around. But I must do my research to check up and see that that's
No, but
correct.
that's one specific excellent example you gave. But generally, there are very few Glens around who actually delve into carpentry. Would you say that, Glen?
Well, yeah. What I don't agree with total handmake, because otherwise some of the best would only be affordable by
the
elite.
richest. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, if you use machines to bring it to a certain stage and then finish it by hand, then that, I think, is the best way forward.
Yeah. So you can have two. Like if I want to buy something, I look it in the real shops. I'm a bit of a cheat.
Yeah.
And then buy it on the internet.
Yeah.
Because unless you handled it, you know, things look...
can't get the feel of it.
Yeah. Because, you know, that takes me back to Indian habits of eating with the hand. The knife and the fork don't tell you whether it's going to burn your tongue. You know, the hand, actually, there's some pleasure.
Yes,
so
it
if you
is.
go to the south of India and actually eat with your hands, actually touching, feeling the texture.
Yeah.
It's a very sensuous thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's like playing with clay.
Yeah.
Risaria, would you agree that actually handling things like paint and acrylic paint or whatever with your hands is different from what I do on a computer? Click, 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 done.
Yes, it's totally different. I hadn't thought of that about food because, of course, I never thought of it being useful for the temperature of the food.
Yes. So when you eat or taste, you smell it, you see it, you taste it, you touch it. What else can you do? What's the other sense? One, hear it. You hear it crack, pop, crackle, pop, and all that stuff.
And there's one more thing. It also brings people together.
Food does.
Yes.
Well,
Especially if you eat together.
Yes.
Well, panas means bread, com means together. So companion means somebody who breaks bread.
Absolutely.
In Punjabi they say roti todni hai, we're going to break bread together, which is what Jesus also said. So the
Absolutely.
Punjabis are very much like Jesus. You know, we are like...
I've noticed the resemblance.
Okay. So, we were in the other room and we made a short film about what you've been doing, which we'll load up and overload on this one so people can see that Risaria has two sets of clothes at least. She's getting richer by the day.
Oh, great.
So I believe you went to the vintage shop. A vintage shop means where the queen does her shopping, you know?
Well, I mean, we were just laughing about this because if you call it a second-hand shop, it has a very different feel to saying a vintage shop. And it's beautifully arranged, this one in Seaburn, because they have vintage handbags and shoes. And I wanted a bag to carry a writing journal in. So I bought that and tried clothes on. And then the woman said, I think this would suit you.
Just like that?
Just like that. It was in the window on display. And I said, oh, it's beautiful. But my mind's going, it's white.
Are you color prejudiced? I'm brown, but carry on.
And she said, it's your size. And I thought, how does she know? And she said, I had somebody in last week and it swamped her. She said, try it on. So
she was calling you overweight?
No, she said it fit.
Okay.
And I said, this looks like a premiere coat, because we'd been to a premiere of Three Rhythms.
Okay.
Yes.
Teen Tal. That's the Hindi movie.
Yes, Teen Tal, the new
made
movie.
by Shakirul.
Yeah. And it was wonderful. It was a black tie occasion. And I was wearing a coat that was definitely not for a black tie occasion. And I thought, this would be great for premieres.
All right. So you got a coat for a very special occasion.
For very special occasions.
And you got how much did you pay for it?
This was £70.
As a normal price, it would be had you gone to Marks and Spencer's and.
Be more than double that, 150. I would have thought.
So you still got a quality coat. I mean, you spent a fair amount on it. It wasn't like a fiver, like in the Scope shop.
Can I mention something similar, if I may?
Well, you bought a ladies' coat as well.
No. No.
His no is very loud.
The last time I was in church in Durham, it's a lovely black and white church, and as I was coming away, somebody said, "Oh, somebody's given you a present," and I know the lady in question. She's Indian, and she and her family are lovely. She's been very, very nice. And they said, she bought you a present. And when I looked in the bag, and it was something that I'd wanted for a long time, and I could afford it, but I had so many things to pay for that it had to wait. And it was a lovely, long, black, formal men's coat.
And I
tails.
Thought, tails?
Yeah, no. Just,
I see, yeah.
Yeah. It's a winter coat. And I looked and I said, will you thank her so much with all my heart and all my soul? I said, that is a lovely.
So the price tag doesn't matter. It's who's given it with what intent.
With what intent.
Yes.
And it was so lovely. And I knew that she'd gone to a lot of trouble.
I was chatting with Madhu about Madhu, who does the shows on Saturdays. You've commented on her as well. You met her as well.
Yeah.
We were talking about giving.
Yeah.
I said, it's no use giving to someone who doesn't need it or want it.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you leave the room, it'll be in the bin.
Yeah.
Or they'll take the thing, take off the sticker, put a new sticker on, and pass it to the next wedding thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if you give to someone who really needs it.
Yeah.
So she and I, at 2 a.m, about 2 years ago, were crossing the Tyne Bridge. And there was a man standing at 2 a.m.
Yes.
looking at the water below.
Yeah.
And she's very generous. She says, oh, go and talk to him. I said, I'm a doctor, I know there are risks in these things. So very slowly I approached him. I said, you walk behind me. I said, I'm a doctor. Can I help you? That is quite a calming thing to say.
Indeed.
So I went up to him, stood next to him. And I said, you look a bit tired. He said, yes, I haven't slept much. I said, and when have you eaten last? He says, 3 days ago. Now my mind started saying, oh, he's a druggie. He spends all his money on alcohol, this and that.
Yes.
But my heart said, rubbish. I put my hand in the pocket. Unfortunately, it was a 20-pound note. I thought it was a fiver. I just gave it to him. So we went round the roundabout a couple of times and came back all the way. And he wasn't there. So I know I've given with love. Whether he takes drugs, whether he's gone and used the money to do a ramid, I don't care. I've just given it. Yeah. Same thing happened in the Gurdwara. Yeah. You were collecting, as I've said, for the Everest expedition of Excelsior. They collected 780 pounds within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like just throwing money like it's rubbish paper. And when I said, I'll count, he said, what for? I said, receipt. He said, what receipt? We've given it in love. What you do with it is your karma.
Yeah.
Risaria, you were saying something. I feel like a class monitor saying, you next. What are you saying?
Well, when you said who needs it, I thought, but it's not necessarily need in it's who appreciates it.
Yes.
And this is what the woman Amanda, who's coming on the show today,
Not Amanda Molloy.
No, Amanda Goldston. Amanda Karen G. Spot Goldston.
What a name and a half.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay. So she's coming on via Skype or?
She's Skyping in. She's on Skype now, waiting for us to call her in.
Okay. But she's ready and.
She's
willing
ready,
to talk.
yes.
Okay. So let's
see if we
not
can find
make the
her.
lady wait. Hello, Amanda.
Hang on, we need to ring her.
Oh, you need
Yeah.
to ring. Okay, so you're not
Just,
that much.
just
Okay.
before you, just about that question of need, it isn't always that somebody needs the money if they're standing there. They need an approach by somebody.
Yes. And this is what I feel about Amanda, because I didn't feel, hello, Amanda, lovely to see you.
Okay. Can you guys see her on the screen?
No.
Okay, I'll arrange that. You talk to Amanda.
Yes.
Hi, Amanda.
Hello. Yes. I saw Amanda has launched a new product on Source TV.
What is Source TV?
Source TV was set up by Rachel Elner and Kevin Stein. Rachel was the first female dragon on Dragon's Den.
All right.
But she set up Source TV as a platform for people who are spiritual business people with spiritual products and who are thought leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll find a lot of law of attraction based products there, yoga, meditation.
Yeah.
There's a really broad range. Rachel's Business Alchemy, she has various products of bringing the spirituality into business. And I was fascinated by Amanda's product because she calls it Orgasm Your Way to Prosperity.
What is that about? Sex? How
So-
dare you? Oh, no, just carry on. Can you see her now?
Yeah.
Yes,
Can you-
yes.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I want to help promote this, so I like it. But I watched the video and I thought, £8 for 8 videos on Orgasm Your Way to Prosperity. And I thought, it's a bargain. So I bought it. And then I thought, let's have Amanda on the show.
Excellent.
So where is Amanda sitting just now? Apart from on our computer.
Where are you at today, Amanda? Can you hear us?
Say something. We can hear you.
Yeah, I'm in front of the computer in my home. Can you hear me?
Yes. Are you in Tamworth?
The line's a bit stuttery.
Tamworth in the Midlands, yes.
Right. Yes. So this woman in the Midlands, this very homely, happily married woman, is launching a product, and you said that it's the missing, it's the chapter in the Napoleon's Hill book, Think and Grow Rich, that people seem to miss. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. It's the 10th, it's the 11th chapter, and it's called The 10th Step to Riches. And Napoleon Hill describes it as the energy of sex transmutation. And it was in the 1930s, geared largely towards a very male-oriented audience. But his basic idea is that our sexual energies are our life force energies. And these are actually the energies that really are the most powerful things in creating success. And he talks about that in combining that with love and romance. So and he talks about the most successful men of the time. Not only were all very highly sexed, but they all had generally the love of a woman that they were doing everything for. So they were creating their fortunes. And what I've actually done with all of this is take that whole same idea and make it a lot more relevant for particularly women today, but for everybody. And where I think that's actually the missing piece, the whole law of attraction thing, is because a lot of the law of attraction stuff is either up in the head or in the heart, but where the real magic happens is where you can actually get all those powerful energies flowing in your body. And that's where you really become so much more magnetic to success. So hence this was the, if you like, the birth of orgasm your way to prosperity. It certainly gets people talking with the title.
So, Amanda, in a way, if I'm talking the chakras, you know the Indian chakras, the 7 chakras? From the middle chakra, you brought it down to the power chakra, the sexual chakra. And in India, they used to call it raising the kundalini, which is exactly the same thing as you're doing. So you're adding that power. Now, sex is just one aspect of it, but the sexual energy is the same. And when you say, I was thinking about, and all because she's gone.
We've lost her.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this line was very poor. So
Yes, we'll try again.
if you want. It's not going to be. Let it remain like that.
Okay.
So we'll talk amongst ourselves and try her again in case the broadband. I mean, it's easy to get China and Austria, but getting Tamworth, doing in Birmingham is hard. So all because the lady loves Cadbury's. Now that's a very small thing to say, but the Medusa's head to win the woman's heart. It's not just about the woman; it's proving you're a man. And by man, I mean woman as well. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying male man. No. I'm talking about women who achieve. I'm talking about Maggie Thatchers of this world, Indira Gandhis of this, Srimavu Bandaranaike, Golda Meir, Rani Jhansi, you, Madhu, any woman, my mother, any woman who succeeds has that energy. She doesn't have to express it sexually in one of these nightclubs and go and have sex. No. The energy and the drive is the same. It's like a car. To me, a car is a car. Whether you use it for ram raid or saving someone's life or an ambulance or go and kill someone with it, it's just a car. We give it value. So sexual energy is an energy. It's a life force.
Absolutely.
So in India, we have Shiva's shivling. It's Shiva's willy, penis.
But the other name for the Kundalini is the coiled serpent.
Yes. It is the coiled serpent that awakes. Again, to me, it's a metaphor. I don't want to explain it by measuring it with a laser gun. All I'm saying, it's a spring. Glen, would you agree? It's a psychic energy.
It's energy. All comes from the human spirit. And how you direct it is another matter.
Yes. And so what you do. Yes.
You just choose to direct it in a certain way.
So everyone has that energy. Some of us recognize it. Some of us vilify it. Religions cut it down. Religion says bad. Adam and Eve, they were naughty, they had sex.
And yet they have religious wars. And this is what I find quite
that is where the sexual energy comes out.
Yes.
Because they can't have sex. They go and use a AK-47. I really believe that. I honestly believe that. If you have a happy... by sex, I don't mean just sex.
No.
I mean a loving, warm relationship, which can include sex or not. I know so many people, disabled people, who don't have sex in any sense of what we can imagine. But the two couples are psychically so deeply connected. They're like a zipper. Every little thing is connected.
But the human body needs sexual relief. Because it's part of the animal part of us, if you like.
Which is a wonderful part of it.
So to create a balance, there is various exercises called masturbation, which can relieve the pressure, which doesn't then get misdirected into other directions.
Into pedophilia, prostitution, and getting AIDS and so on.
Absolutely.
Okay. But the loving relationship with another human being is a bit more than masturbation. So I'm saying it's more.
Oh, yes, that's more.
It's the complete flower.
Yes. Okay. Can we move on quickly? We are getting too deeply into the Kama Sutra.
We've lost our internet connection completely. So.
We lost our thought thread as well. So there's another feeling I was whenever I see your hand moving.
Before we leave that, I was going to say that I said to Amanda, I think it's just so great.
So this is Amanda Goldstein.
Goldstone.
Okay.
S-T-O-N on the end.
I thought all clever people are Jewish, That's why I put the Stein part to it.
And she, I just thought this was such a brilliant idea that we actually had a successful Skype call together. And she just said, I'll demonstrate some of the breathing. And she said, write down your goals and that right now we're
breathe them in.
Breathe in.
Into your body.
And the phone started ringing.
Immediately.
And I just said, can't talk now. I just sent a message. Happened twice. And when I came off the call, it was actually Sage Gateshead ringing me to say that, and when I spoke to them, my goal was to manifest Barbara Marx Hubbard over here for World Peace Day.
So tell us a bit more. Who's Barbara Marx Hubbard and why do you want her here? I know, but the listeners should know.
Barbara Marx Hubbard is, she was called in the 80s an American visionary, but I think that she's an evolutionary now. She's helping us evolve to the next stage of humanity. In the 80s, she ran for Vice President of America on the campaign that she would create a peace room from the war room.
Yeah.
Now she's helping. She's got such an incredible network with scientists and architects who are helping us evolve as human beings. And
into what? May I just
Better human beings.
into the next stage, from Homo sapiens to whatever the next stage is. She's calling it possibly Homo universalis, the universal
What does the
human.
word sapiens
Absolutely,
mean?
yeah.
Homos means same, and sapiens means what?
Wise.
wise men?
Wise.
We are hardly Homo sapiens. We are the most unwise creatures on the planet.
Well,
Yeah.
Or we can be. I'm not saying.
But we are. We have the wisdom, and when we trust our innate wisdom, it helps us to evolve to the next level. And this is what Barbara is helping do. And I'm part of a group. I did a training with her. And
Where?
some of the people who've been
In
Skyping
London?
online.
Online, okay.
Online. And there's a European group of us. We call ourselves the gentle resonance holders.
The gentle resonance holders.
Yes.
Sound like a beer glass or something. You know? Okay.
And we meet twice a week online.
All
and we've been doing this. We're in our 3rd year now. And this is a group of
3 years you've been doing it.
3 years.
So you're like sisters, really. Because
And
you're
brothers.
talking and brothers. Oh,
Yes.
okay. So you're talking very deep spiritual material.
Yes.
So you're more connected than most brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Blood relations.
And
isn't it?
some of them have been Kaya's one of them, Rude's one of them.
Oh, I see.
The regulars who come in here.
So these are the resonance holders. Okay.
These are the resonance holders.
All right.
And we were talking about World Peace Day. And last year I was chasing Barbara, and we were trying to raise money. It didn't happen. But now suddenly it feels like things are coming to me to help set this up. And Angel, who's Barbara's coordinator, who's also Reverend Angel.
Reverend Angel, who is
here.
spoken from Arizona.
Yes. She sent a message saying, "Is this happening?" And
So they are keen to come.
they're very keen to come. Barbara's put it in her diary. She's only going to come for about 3 or 4 days.
Right. Yeah.
But she is 85, and she wants to hand her teachings on, her trainings.
Yeah.
And she said so she wants an audience of 1,000 because she feels that will work most effectively. And that was the intention I put out when I was with Amanda, orgasming. And it's just
So
simple breathing.
while you were doing it, Sage rang.
Yes.
And then what happened after that?
I rang back after I'd left the call and saw it was Sage, rang them, and I said, I'm looking for a venue for World Peace Day on Monday, the 21st of September, that will hold 1,000 people. And she said, I'll just check. And she said, Hall 1 is available.
Hall 1 is the biggest one.
It's the biggest one.
In the Sage.
In
the
the
Sage,
Sage.
yeah.
Sting has filled it 3 times over next weekend.
But
It's
we are
sold
not
out.
Sting.
When,
We are just Spice FM and
Well,
and
I just thought it's interesting seeing what Sting is doing, because this is about the history, our past. It's when the last ship sailed. And I think this is great. But Barbara is our future. Barbara is how we, and I feel that the work that Deepu's doing really connects
Deepu Ahad,
with this. Yes. And I had a meeting at Sage yesterday, and I just thought, I'll take my premier coat with me, see if I can get a little shot of me in the hall. And they were very helpful. And when I said about the programme, I said, Barbara Marks Hubbard will be the keynote speaker, and she will be on from 11 until and do the midday global meditation. And I said, and it might be fun to have Amanda have an Orgasm Your Way to Prosperity business breakfast. And they thought this was hilarious. They said, we've never had one of those before. And they were so helpful. And when I'd been trying to connect with my business mentor, Rachel Elner, and the second I got on the bus outside Sage, we connected.
Huh? So it's like the trip switches in heaven or wherever it's
Yes.
all the landmines are going off at the right time
Yes.
and demolishing any barriers.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I thought she'd be booked up months in advance. And I said, she said, if any way I can help, I will. And I thought, this is this amazing woman.
Yes.
And she said, any way I can help, I will. And I said, are you available on that date?
Yes.
And she said, is the 21st, is World Peace Day the equinox? And I said, yes. And she said, I'm free. And she said, I know because I'm very connected to the equinox, and Source TV's logo is the double equinox. That's the symbol.
Okay. The
So-
two equinoxes.
Yes.
The two times the
Yes.
day and the night are equal.
Yeah.
In March and September.
Yes.
It may be that the ancient peoples, like the Beaker people, knew a secret about this equinox
Yeah.
that we have forgotten
Yeah.
over the centuries.
And as she said this to me, the bus was crossing the time. And I've got goosebumps saying this. I said, this feels really symbolic. So I've now got a dragon and an angel. Reverend Angel.
Oh my goodness!
I've just realised that this second.
Yes. The
Reverend-
penny has dropped.
The penny's dropped.
Oh.
Negative and
Oh
positive.
my God.
Okay. Well, let's take over a little bit. So break time. I got no more messages. There's too many channels running at the same time. You were talking to each other. You were talking about Malcolm. You were asking Risaria some very pertinent questions. You ask them now.
Where is all of this going to lead? Because presumably there is a goal in sight.
I don't see a goal. I see sort of what I'm now calling lifelines, steps on the path. Because I think it's all about us expanding as human beings. And so there is no end to that. And it's just following, we're talking about following your heart. But I think this is more what Amanda's talking about. It's following that deep creative instinct. And this is the way I like to work with people, is focusing
The problem
on your
with goals
creativity.
you reach them.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Yes.
Then you make a goal and you reach them, and then it's massive disappointment.
Yes.
If you live the moment in beauty and harmony
Yes.
and giving and generosity, you don't need goals. Everything happens.
Well, I'd like to quote somebody. The great Michelangelo, the great sculptor and painter of the Sistine Chapel, once said, I think it wasn't long before he died, he turned around and he said, Lord, let me always have something left undone, so there may be something to work for.
Well, I'm not Michelangelo, but I'm telling you, I've never had a goal in my life, ever. I've never, ever had a goal in life, and I achieve everything I need to on the spot. Because if I had a goal of doing this and my bankruptcy came, my son died, I'd be completely crushed, I'd kill myself. So goals are very dangerous things.
Yes.
And when Michelangelo says, leave things undone, which means give me the chaos and the space to make things.
Yes.
You know, there are two kinds of people talking about the Sistine Chapel. One fellow was asked, what are you doing? He says, I'm laying bricks. The other fellow was asked, what are you doing? He said, I'm making the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah.
They're doing exactly the same job, but the motive and the intent and the vision is much bigger and smaller. Glenn, what do you think of all this? You're looking at the sky, you're looking to God for help.
Yeah.
Go
No, I agree with not having too much of a goal, but I also agree with having a goal. That sounds a bit contradictory.
Well,
But if you have a spiritual goal,
yeah.
that will take you wherever you want to be.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So, but the thing is not to look too high, to look at the next step towards it.
So stepping
and then
up.
you don't get disappointed. And if you get derailed slightly or on the way,
So
then
what?
don't get upset about that. Just steer the horse that way a little bit for a while, and then bring it back. So long as you don't lose sight of the ultimate one. But how you get there can take you on all sorts of journeys.
And very interesting journeys.
Yeah.
You may not reach it quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty, isn't it? I mean, smelling the flowers while you're on the way.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think intention.
Come in and sit down. Hi. So we were saying that goals are spiritual, goals are emotional, you'll achieve. But if you have mechanical goals, I want to be a doctor. I'll give you share one example. There was a black guy who was dying of cancer. And who are these American, Louis Hay and all those kind of people? He or she went to that guy and said, you're dying of cancer. How long are you going to live? He says, 6 weeks. He says, no, you're going to live for many, many years. He said, don't joke with me. I'm only a poor black guy. He said, no, what do you get? What would you do? He said, I really wanted to be a doctor. So here's a 60-year-old man, black guy from Bronx, dying of cancer. He says, you will have your goal. He says, what was the purpose of being a doctor? So I could help people. He took him to the airport, set up a stall, and said, you know Chicago very, very, very well, or Detroit, whichever the city was. You stand here and tell people what they can see when they come touristing, and your wife next to you can also tell them over the lady stuff, where to go for flower and whatever they want.
Excellent.
He lived for 15 years. The doctors told him to die in 6 or 8 weeks. So you're talking about spiritual goals. If you try to make it a mechanistic, I want to be a doctor, but there's no because in it.
But the main goal there was to help people.
Yes. So that is the value.
If you have to become a doctor or whatever it happens to be in order to achieve that.
Well, Hitler had loads of very clever doctors. What did they achieve except death of people? So we have now in the studio, better late than ever. Hi, welcome. Shall I send the mic to you?
Yes.
Okay. Careful. Turn it. You have to turn it. Can't help it. Yeah. Go on. Welcome.
Hello.
Leila, welcome.
Hello. I'm so sorry for my late
No, don't waste time apologizing. Tell us who you are and what you're doing.
I'm Leila Hussain. I'm a poet of spoken word, written word, and a writer as well. And I have a business which is called The Word Queen.
So you sell poems.
I do.
You're like Shakespeare, man.
Well, you can say that.
Well,
I'm not going to say that.
Shakespeare wrote for the Tudors. They didn't do it for God or country.
True. He made money. Definitely. Yeah.
So you're like Shakespeare.
Oh, thank you. In some sense.
Yeah.
Well, I do writing for websites, copywriting, and then I create bespoke words and poetry for weddings and occasions.
To make very nice language packages.
Yeah, basically.
Sweets that make us fat.
Yeah.
You're giving us idea. Because I met you through Amar Mirza.
Yeah, we did meet, didn't we? So it's basically bespoke words. The idea is words that capture people's moments, and whether it's business or whether it's personal and emotional, it's about capturing that, and I think words are very powerful. Yeah.
Because in a sense, if I had a loss, and I have had several, and I'm speaking to you, you do me more good than a psychiatrist who pump me full of drugs, and I don't even bemoan the loss. Then we are kind of just suffering it quietly and chewing tablets to keep the doctors happy. So what you're doing is far beyond just the spoken word. Have you any poems here today?
I do have some, yeah. What have you been chatting about? Because I'll pick one that goes more with the theme. You were talking about metaphysical stuff, weren't you? Louise Hay and
we talk about
healing.
Everything.
Anything else.
Anything.
Okay.
Anything that you fancy.
Okay. Well, I want to read a poem that I wrote because I had similar kind of to that guy's story. I was seriously ill. Wasn't with cancer, but I was in a wheelchair and almost paralyzed.
Wow.
With no real sign of recovery or
no
light
hope,
at the end of the
nothing,
tunnel.
yeah.
I was living in the Middle East at the time, and it's an illness that wasn't really understood
You're
there.
half Palestinian.
I am half Palestinian.
Because I've seen you at the marches.
Yes. Well, way back.
way
back when. Yeah, so I wrote this because in my journey of healing, I found that for me personally, it was about loving myself. Some of that illness, that trauma and that sadness. So this was about that. So if I could read that.
Please.
Have you ever slow danced with yourself? Have you ever stroked your face, held your own hand, and fallen head over heels madly in love with yourself? No, I thought not. It is not seen as a thing to do these days. Too many people cry narcissism. Self-love? Are you mad, woman? Don't be absurd. But it is the key to everlasting happiness. When I love myself, I manage money in a way that keeps me feeling safe, looked after. When I love myself, I know inherently that I need no man to complete me. When I love myself, I look in the mirror and find myself to be the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. When I love myself, I place firm boundaries about what I need, unapologetically. When I love myself, I know my worth and make sure others know it too. When I love myself, I always have fresh linen, a clean, tidy rooms, and my bills paid. When I love myself, my fridge is always full and I eat 3 nourishing meals a day. When I love myself, I am untouchable because I know I can survive anything and anyone that comes my way. When I love myself, I am superwoman, brave. When I love myself, I express my feelings and feel no shame for doing it. When I love myself, I know I deserve love, happiness, and to have all my dreams fulfilled. When I love myself, I laugh when I hear a bird sing. When I love myself, I don't believe all the lies about the world being a scary place. When I love myself, really love myself, I stop distracting myself from my own thoughts, fears, and self-talk. When I love myself, my thoughts are wrought with self-worth, gratitude, and joy, instead of self-criticism and what I have done wrong. When I love myself, I can look at a beautiful woman and feel her beauty is only evidence of my own beauty. Because we are all one, connected. Like a rose, she shows me what I am and can be. When I love myself, I go after my dreams and don't let anything stand in my way. When I love myself, I breathe in the now moment and just be in this perfect today. When I love myself, I speak up for myself against anyone, no matter who they may be. When I love myself, I feel surges of strong love for my friends and family. When I love myself, I don't use sugar to swallow down my pain. When I love myself, I don't care what any man thinks of me. When I love myself, I massage myself and brush my hair gently, putting hair grips in carefully so I don't hurt me. When I love myself, I stop getting angry at myself for being afraid. When I love myself, I realize how no one adds to my worth and nothing I can say can detract from it. So I start being me. When I love myself, I feel free. There you go.
Wow. I think it's so universal that we fellows can take it and replace the word woman with man, and it fits in absolutely the same. Because any time a musician like you has those yin qualities, you'll arouse the jealousy of people, you'll arouse admiration, but both are our enemies. I think admiration and jealousy are exactly the same thing that damage us.
Yes.
So too much admiration is, I mean, occasionally somebody says, Doc, you were all right, fine, thank you. But if I say, how was the show? I'm enticing people into liking me. And that's a very sad state of, a lot of people are like that.
Taking
a lot of people
from the outside.
Yes. A lot of people on Spice ring people and say, how was my show? I don't care how the show was. I've enjoyed myself. I've got 4 fab people in the studio who are enjoying themselves. And if some people are listening, fine. If they're not listening, fine. It's like that. Risaria, what do you make of this? I think it's a very powerful poem.
It is. I mean, and this is what I mean about things lining up, because we'd been talking about what you were going to read.
Yeah.
And we both had technical problems.
Yeah.
And I read that this morning. It was the only poem I could access.
Right.
And I thought, it's perfect. And you said, oh, I don't see this as a poem to read out. I see it's more one on the page. And I said, read it. I think it fits perfectly with the theme today.
Yeah. Again, I've never practiced it, but I just thought it's about how you feel when you read it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because when you read it, you put in your passion. Nobody else can read it like you because it is your poem.
Of course.
It's part of your DNA, your makeup, your pains of Palestine and England and being from abroad and being half caste and all those kind of things that people will say. I'm not saying you're a half caste. Well, you are, but who cares? You know what I mean? But people say these things about generations mixing, age mixing, gender mixing, and it's so easy to protect homophobes. It's so easy to say your phone is going. It's so easy to also talk about Islamophobia and this phobia. But we are full of self-phobia. We are so scared of ourselves.
Absolutely.
And never mind other people and other things. And Malcolm will get a stroke if he doesn't speak. Go on. Go on, Malcolm. What are you saying, Malcolm?
That's because people don't know each other. And this is the essence of the starting point. Love for oneself can then extend to the rest of the world.
Love thy neighbor as?
Love as thyself, meaning love everyone in the world. And identify with them.
Okay, we've got Nicola here who wants to comment on the phone. Okay, Nicola Swan is on the phone line.
Hello.
Hello, you're live on air without coming through the regular studio channels because you're on Risaria's phone. But fire away, Nicola. What do you make of it?
Hi, thank you. I was just listening to the poem. It's beautiful. I only just tuned in, so I've missed the first half of your program. I just wanted to catch up with. I knew you were doing a theme on poetry today, and I thought, since my roots are in Tyneside, my grandfather was from Tyne Dock, and I have on my wall a poem that he wrote to us, which was a grandpa's thank you.
Do you have it?
Yes.
Can you read it? Please read it.
I will. But I was also wondering whether you have any listeners who will be probably quite elderly by now, who might remember the Vicar of Tyne Dock, St Mary's Church, in Tyneside, in Tyne Dock rather, in South Shields, many years ago. But I'll read the poem. It was a thank you because we bought him a torch as a Christmas present for him one year, and he sent back to us in the post this framed picture and poem, which was a thank you. So I'll read it. It's called Grandpa's Thank You. Dear grandchildren, the ancient parson of Tyne Dock tried hard to take care of his flock. Early he went to church each day for his parishioners to pray. But then in London, MPs said, let folk work while we're in bed. To make it seem less like a crime, they'll call it British Standard Time. The poor old vicar of Tyne Dock got up the same time by the clock, but now it was as black as night, for there was hardly any light. He rose much earlier than the lark, and walked to church while it was dark, finding the way for his 2 feet by lamplight from a nearby street.
Wow.
He was left one morning in the lurch. He could not even find his church. A blackout of electric power would last at least another hour. That priest so aged of St Mary's never had believed in fairies. Now wondered if those little people had been walked and loosed unto people. All light had vanished, you would think, for everything was black as ink. The vicar wandered round and round. His church was nowhere to be found.
Wow.
Now by means of brand new torch, he never failed to reach the porch. He laughs at blackout and thick fog. He strides out with his 3-legged dog. For this new torch he sent his thanks to 3 young folk who live in Hants. For this was his gift at last Noel from Becky, Nicola, and Joel. Welcome, Grandpa.
Wow. Wonderful. I'm glad you remember Grandpa and you brought him to life again, and to Betty and all those kids. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Lovely.
Lovely. Thank you for your input. And just not I've never had an input in poetry into Spice FM. Iman, we are going places like, let's have a round of applause for that. Hooray! Thank you, Nicola. Thank you very much. See, Leila, what have you done to the people of Tyneside? They all become poets.
All that's left of that church is a cross on the corner where it used to be.
But that's what it's about. It's about the cross.
Every time I went to Newcastle, I would see that cross and the church. And I always used to think, well, I've got to go in there one day. And I never met the gentleman in question.
But he sent you a poem through his grandchildren.
Well, he brought back memories for me.
Yes.
And even now, I've got to go back every so often to connect with it. And now it gives me pictures that it gave them before, but not in such quantity. You know,
so it means a lot to you.
It does, but I had to leave it before I could look at it again.
Yes. Sometimes when you stand back, you see the beauty. The way I understand Hindus and India is far more than most of the Indians in India, because they're too much dyed in the wool.
Close to each other.
They're like a fish shoal looking at each other.
Yeah.
I'm like a distant fish. What do you think, Leila? Were you born in Palestine?
No, I was born in Darlington.
Okay.
So it's not as exotic, but
it's slightly not less.
I've lived in the Middle East. I've never been to Palestine.
You've been to Palestine, and you wouldn't care to because there's nothing much there to go back to at the moment.
No, I'd love to go.
So why don't you go with the Labour to Palestine trip?
Well, the closest I've been, I was going to say, is in Jordan. There's a part of Jordan you can look over onto a lake, and it's quite high up, and it's beautiful. And I've heard many lovely stories.
But I have been with Dipu Ahad and that lot, and Chiunwara, etc. to Palestine, it's quite revealing. You begin to see another side. Because a Jewish guy here, and he says, oh, it's a lovely place. I said, excuse me, you're Jewish. You went in an air-conditioned bus to the posh areas. You never saw the beggars and the people being abused. You never saw the world from the other side. So you really have a very, very wrong view of what goes on there. The Mughals never thought that they had any trouble when they were ruling India. The Brits never had much problems when they were ruling India. So it's a bit like that, isn't it? You see only the aggressor's point of view. You never see the locals who have suffered.
I actually have a certain perspective on it, though, and I think it's a much more peaceful one than I used to have. And I feel for both sides, because I think I see the Israeli state as an abused, almost like an abused child. Who's been abused, and they carry this trauma and this paranoia around. And so now the Palestinians are the abused child and they're the abuser because they need to feel powerful.
But the abuser,
I feel sorry for them too.
But the abuser are just as much abused as people they're abusing.
Yes. Exactly, yeah. So I know it doesn't sit well with everyone, but
no, let me tell you, every single Israeli that's coming out has served in abusing Arabs. Every single one of them have to do it because they have to be 2 or 3 years. They're forced to be in the army. True, So if you produce a whole nation of people who have been abusing, what do you think this country will become? So Israel state is an abusing state, but it's becoming the abuser, but it's abusing itself, really, long term.
Of course,
and it's producing terrorists all the time because they cannot see another point of view.
I definitely feel for them.
See, I'm neither Arab nor Jewish. And I felt quite scared the way they fired tear gas at you, just to normal people. I just had a camera in my hand. I didn't have a weapon. But they fired tear gas shells. I was choking. I thought I was dying. Anand Deepu has had much press, but I've done exactly the same thing.
When was this?
This was 19th or something September.
September. You came back on the 21st
of September last year. So say 18th or 19th September last year. So I just I don't vote Labour anyway, but I latched on to the Labour Party's trip there. But it's all done for you very inexpensively. And they take it very safely. And all the films I made had to come back. The SD cards had to be posted back. Otherwise, they were just confiscated. They were scanning my clothes to see if there was tear gas. Little did they know that I had washed all my clothes. No other country checks you on the way out to that extent as Israel does. Can you imagine the fear and the adrenaline and the cortisol that Israelis are? So I have pity for them even more than for the Palestinians because they don't realize what they're doing to themselves. So it's not one side or the other.
I saw a documentary. It wasn't that excellent CD that you gave me, Doc, on the
Israel versus Israel.
That's right. For the first time, I saw what Israel was doing to Palestinians who had been there for centuries, from the year dot, from in Gaza from 3,000 years ago. But what I saw, I couldn't believe that they were allowed, Israel was allowed to do that kind of thing. Now, I was brought up in my early life, even before I left England, among Jewish and Arabic people in Shields, in South Shields. Although my family came from Lockerbie in Scotland.
Yeah, it's a nice mix.
Well, I haven't told you all of it. Everyone, all my friends here know all about it. And when I saw what was happening, I couldn't believe it. I thought, this is unbelievably unjust. Just allowed to take land willy-nilly. And the thing that I saw most wonderful, but not in that particular CD, was a documentary, and a woman was standing, she was Jewish, talking to her own people. An older lady, probably in her 80s or more, and she turned around, she said, what are you doing? You are doing what the Nazis did to us. Is this what you want? We are becoming like them. And I thought, I'm with you, lady. I'm with you. And I went through trauma for a long, long time, so I know what it's all about. And I still suffer a little bit today.
You know, when I came back, I like going to war zones to see what raw humans are like. So I went in 71 to Bangladesh. I went for a week. The Delhi guys from Delhi were going to Bangladesh, 2,000 miles. I thought, what the hell am I sitting here for, getting to boring lectures? I learned more about people on the street than I would learn in the medical school. So I was there 3 weeks. It makes you cry and you come back quite empty. You don't come back shell-shocked, but you come back quite upset and distressed with the human condition. Then ever in India there was a flood or a drought, I would go and work there as well. So I've seen the human beings from quite close, apart from being a doctor where everyone's dressed properly and says good morning and good afternoon and they are dying through eating too much. So when you go to these war-torn places, that's where you really learn where humans exist. So the basic thing is, I have always wanted to go to these bizarre, peculiar places to see what the real thing is about and sense human danger. So I'm there in the Middle East at 42 degrees centigrade, carrying a 3-kilo camera, running for my life away from tear gas. And I value that thing to realize what beasts human beings can be. I don't need to go to Auschwitz to experience. I go to an Israeli place called Israel to experience it.
Yeah.
And the tragedy is only 15% of Jewish people are godly. The rest don't believe in God. These are facts and figures, I'm telling you.
I know they are. I've spoken to
So
several.
what is all this about, the Holy Land? And that is why I speak so strongly against religion and acceptance. Everyone says there's nothing wrong with the religion. Why the hell are then only religious people killing religious people?
Because what religion does, I mean, it brings out the good and the bad. I've seen people who shout about Christianity, and I try to be Christian myself, but I've seen others who are gentle and smiling. Let me just explain. I went into a shop in Horsley Hill.
Where you live?
No.
Then?
Where I used to live.
Okay.
And I was with a friend, and I said, you remember when I was telling you about not everything is on the surface? He said, yeah. I said, you see that lady there with the golden cross? He said, yeah. I said, now watch. And I went to her, and I said, may I have such a... And she smiled, and she was lined all over her face. But and I said, would you do me a favor and ask and pray for me? She said, I will. And the smile was like the sun coming out, and I thought, I said, you see that lady there? When I got out, he said, yeah. I said, did you see the smile? He said, my Lord, I did. I said, wasn't it lovely? He said, yeah. I said, that's the genuine article.
You're giving a very cute story, but ultimately...
This applies to everybody.
No, but religion actually kills today. If I had my way, I would ban all religions.
Yes, but only with the ones that I haven't mentioned.
You're telling me very nice stories, but the fact is only religious people kill.
But Doc, it brings out the good and the bad. If a person is genuinely good...
You don't need religion.
Well, you do it naturally. The others who shout and rant and rave and talk about, murdering this and murdering that,
Everyone says the fault is not with religion, it's people and how they use it. I'm telling you the fault, and I'm telling you the fault is only with the religion.
No, I don't. I
yes,
agree.
Nobody has the guts to say this. I would ban every single religion. The world would be a better place.
The only religion that's worth anything is the religion of truth.
Actually,
if everybody thought the same thing was truth, then there wouldn't be any religions, there wouldn't be any need for them.
Yes.
If everybody recognized the principles on which the world works, which is in harmony, in balance, and just the same things that, if you like, Jesus said, treat your neighbor as yourself.
Now, which religion doesn't say that?
Well, exactly. But there's truth in all these so-called religions. The problem is that people that were sent to give us advice from higher regions, all their followers, all their people that tried to follow them, altered, distorted, all things
Man takes over,
I have to say that's not my opinion. I wasn't where we were going to be talking about this actually, but I feel there's a lot of good in religion. There's a lot of beauty in religion too.
I think weak people need religion. We need to grow beyond religion. Weak people need nationalism. We should grow beyond it. Weak people stick in their own culture. We should grow beyond it. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying religion shouldn't be, but as a kid, I believed in fairy tales and Santa Claus. Religion is Santa Claus. It's time to give up all that stuff and become spiritual is what I'm saying. Because religion is not only an opium of the people, it's a time-expired drug that is killing people. It is doing nothing good. It's like the old tetracycline. It's killing people. Anyway, we've got a guest. Okay, that's fine.
Say that for the record. That's not my opinion.
That is nobody that says this, so somebody has to say it, so I'm saying it. We've got a new guest in the studio who's sitting very quietly. I don't even know who she is. Have you come to participate or have you?
This is Julie.
Hello, Julie.
Hi. The singing midwife.
Oh, singing midwife?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Hi.
Wow.
Hi.
So you are a real midwife who delivers baby?
Well, yes and no. I am trained as a midwife. I'm at the moment not working as a midwife. I'm choosing to work in other ways supporting women's health.
So you deliver good health?
Yeah.
Instead of a 10-pound baby?
Yeah, well, I do. Well, it's. I mean, everything you're talking about, religion, spirituality, I mean, it's all connected. And I suppose one of the reasons I'm currently not working within the mainstream health system is I found it incredibly difficult to stay connected with that love, truth, whatever you want to call it, spiritual.
Because the system drives it out of you.
Yeah. And so I guess you could talk about religion, institutions. Is there something about when people get organized and there are more and more things that take us away from ourselves and our personal truth.
Yes.
Myself, I couldn't find a way, or I haven't yet been able to find a way to keep that integrity and work within the system. Some midwives do it, some doctors do it. They're amazing.
I had at least one serious complaint against me every year.
Right.
And I value that
There
because
you go. Yes.
if they don't complain, that means I'm just fitting in like sheep.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll talk sometime other because this is not about medicine. But within a year, I stopped seeing drug reps.
Yeah.
I completely rebelled and said, I'm not seeing reps.
Yeah.
I started getting yoga, meditation, medication, anything that helped people. I started teaching medical students about complementary therapies.
Yes.
It's completely against the religion of the health service.
It is.
The health service is another religion.
I would really agree with that. And something that's amazing in the health service is, I think, the Brits' allegiance to the health service is so strong. I think there are definitely parallels to religion.
I will say it is the holy cow of all parties.
Yes,
Actually,
but
I
it's
think there's
love,
great
but it's
East and West
exactly.
medicine.
Yes,
I think it's
yes.
wonderful.
You need both.
I mean, what amazes me about our kind of undying affiliation to the NHS is that no matter how many personal pain stories that people have, and they know relatives and loved ones who've been failed by the NHS, we still we want to protect it as it is, rather than allow maybe some amazing, glorious, wonderful changes to happen. So, you know, the NHS is incredible. You know, I've just been on holiday to America.
And you miss the health service.
You miss the health. It makes you realise that free healthcare is not a God-given right, which I think that we've.
It's the concept which we hold to.
Yeah.
It is.
It's the concept. The trouble is the administration of the concept is faulty.
Yes.
Very.
And when some people kind of actually, if you're not, I don't know, if you don't go about it in the right way to say, hang on a sec, guys, I think there's something wrong here. Actually, you can get squashed out.
And as a midwife, you know how many MDMT meetings were held to talk about such minuscule details that just don't matter. It makes the patient no better. It doesn't improve anyone's life. But you go on and on, and you lose the will to live.
The trouble is we're bound by systems that are imposed by accountants, politicians.
Insurance.
You are not allowed to use your common sense or your spiritual knowledge in order to treat somebody with respect and common sense, because the system, you're not allowed to do it within the system that is being administered.
Okay.
I was a civil servant and I know very much.
I was a GP and I know very much. And you were a solicitor and you know very much. Anyone who works in any system has given up his soul or her soul. George Bernard Shaw in 41 rather, in the Doctor's Dilemma book says, all professions are a conspiracy against the lay.
Yeah, right.
If you have any spirit and you join any club, whether it's the Masons or Labour Party or National Health Service or Communist Party, it doesn't matter. You've given up your freedom completely and you're hiding behind other sheep. With that statement, before I get killed, let me do the break.
Red Hot Radio. Spice FM 98.8 FM.
So we come back to the show. Monitor ain't working. So we'll talk about creativity. What do you think of that? Just creative. What is creativity? Everyone give an answer. What is creativity to you?
To me, it's an expression of my deepest self.
So you become yourself only when you're creative.
I feel I'm more authentic. I'm more authentic when I'm creating things, and this is why I felt that Amanda and Julie and Leila were great guests to bring on for this, because one's
they're
working
doing completely different things from the average.
Yes, but creativity, I feel, does come from the womb. It connects with the heart, but the actual inspiration is deeper. And I've noted, for me, when I feel something physically in my body, when I read a piece of work or when Leila's reading her poems, they connect with me on every level, at the deepest level. And that's why I feel that her job is so beautiful. What a job to write bespoke
to enjoy yourself and get paid as well.
For people, to celebrate people's marriages. And I think that
Okay.
is
Julie,
wonderful.
you created an unusual job, haven't you?
Well, yes.
The singing midwife.
Well, that's not my job.
No, but you created a job title.
Yeah.
So, what inspired you? How did you become this deliverer?
Sing? I've always sang. I can't not sing. I got into trouble as a student midwife for singing with women. But now, in my work as kind of a more women's health therapist, yoga teacher, doula, people tell me that the song, and yes, I can learn songs, I can write songs, but when I let the song just come
naturally,
and it may be just sound, it may be more chanting, it may be humming, it may be a song. Then my work, if I'm giving them a massage, if we're doing yoga, they just say, "Oh my God." It takes.
So it's really tune in to use a sound metaphor.
Amazing.
You tune into that person, and a melody comes forthwith.
Yeah, or I usually am kind of tuning to the earth, or to my heart, or to my womb. And when I say, I don't know if Risaria would agree with me, but when you're saying creativity comes from the womb, for me it's the womb, but it's not a physical womb. It's not if you're a man
You
or
don't need to have.
hysterectomy. It's
Even men can have wombs.
You bet.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's that area.
It's that area.
So Malcolm, don't look so disappointed. It's okay. Okay. So what about yourself, Leila? We were talking about creativity. Every poem you write, you haven't copied from anywhere. You don't cut and paste from Google. You just comes from within you.
Yeah.
So where is that seed? Where is that original seed gone from?
For me, it's joy. Creativity is joy moving through me, because it can be sexual, as we talked about. It can be writing. It can be
painting, dancing, drama.
The instinct, isn't it? It's the instinct comes from
even how you walk on the street.
Yeah, cooking, anything. And it's amazing what you're just talking about with the sound, because I feel like recently when I perform on stage anyway, I noticed that a lot of the work that I do is quite repetitive. And then I was watching something about shamans, from ancient times and, recent times as well. And they were saying how you hypnotize someone, with repetition. And people...
What do you think the Hindu mantras are?
Yeah, exactly.
You just repeat the same sound,
it's very powerful, isn't it? Yeah.
And even the words may not be there. I'll do a quick demo. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Vareniyam Bhargo. This is the Hindu thing. Father, I will sing in the same tune. Does it make a difference whether I say Michael Jackson, you're a great singer? When you start doing it in that chanty way, the words melt away.
And this is the thing, sometimes you're doing it, like you said, rooting yourself to the ground. You're doing it without realising. I was repeating stuff, and then people had said to me when I came off stage, you've got a really magnetic presence. It was like a spell you bound, and I didn't realise that's why I was repeating. So that's why I find it interesting. Yeah, sound is very powerful, isn't it?
Okay, somebody came on the phone and the line went off. Do ring in again, please. You're welcome, caller. Thank you. Yeah,
I'm a singer and a guitar player.
Right.
And I've always liked John Denver.
We'll have to have a demo then. They haven't heard you.
I like other music.
Yeah.
But and somebody once asked me, they said, why do you like, he's bland? I said, no, he's not. I said, if you listen to the melodies and the words, they come from there. And that's why I liked him.
Yeah. Okay. But I hate John Denver. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do about that? You see, you don't have to. But stop. Emotions have never to be explained. Yeah. So never do a because. If she loves something, great. If I love something, great. There's no explanation.
It's all spiritual.
Exactly. But it's tuned into you. John Denver's tuned to you. I think he's terrible. I think he's atrocious. No, I don't think that. Let's have a John Denver thing. Come on.
Well, why don't girls sing as well?
No. Just to get a guitar out.
Can we harmonize?
Glen, what is creativity for you?
Harmonize, do you?
Glen, what do you make of creativity? What is creativity to you?
Well, I'm an author, an artist,
and a carpenter,
woodworker,
yes,
speaker. And all it means is that I'm expressing my spirit and to try and ennoble the world around me.
Yes. To make it a more harmonious
place.
place.
A better place
yes.
than it was when I arrived.
Less jagged edges.
It's as simple as that.
Less friction.
You don't need... Just keep it simple. That's it. In essence, everything else, but you get your inspiration from the thoughts that other people send around.
And you pick up a... It's like a dream catcher of the Red Indians.
It's like threads hanging down above you.
Yeah.
All those thoughts which you just hang on.
Oh, sorry. There's somebody on the phone. I'm terribly sorry. Just stop everything. Who's that, please? Hello? I think there's somebody.
I just heard.
There's somebody on the phone line. Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, hello. Carry on, please. I'm sorry we have completely ignored you. We got carried away with our own selves. Who's that, please?
It's Madhu and Harry. Actually.
Madhu and Harry, yes, far away.
Yes, we're on holiday, so
Yeah.
we were listening.
Okay.
And a few things that we heard. One was about Sting on the last sale.
Sting.
Yes.
Or sales, yes, on the 25th of April, I think.
Yes.
Well, I was going to that, and I booked my tickets a year ago, so it seems a long time ago anyway. And so that was interesting. I thought I would say hi about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's on a Saturday, I've noticed. And the other thing was, I think I heard that there's a doula in there.
Yes.
With you.
Talk to the doula. Hello, doula.
Hello, I can't hear.
You can't hear, but...
You put the headset
well, please give her the headphones.
Well,
Okay, sorry, I didn't hear any
Yeah,
of that.
this is Spice FM. We have only 4 headphones. Yes, carry on.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes, hi, my name's Madhu Chambers.
And you are Julie.
I'm Julie. Hi.
Yeah, hi, Julie. I had a doula when I had my son Harry, and I didn't have family here, so we had a doula. She was like a godsend, really.
Ah.
She made dinners. For 6 weeks, I had a cesarean, so I was afraid of going up the stairs. The first day I came home, I felt I cried because I realised I might never walk again. That's the feeling that was going through my head. And I had lots of stairs. And one of the things when you're breastfeeding was I would never have done breastfeeding at all. I was, because I did both. Actually, we went for the breastfeeding information and the other, and had all options. So we had all the equipment for one and the other. And then, we went for, well, obviously, when the baby was born, straight on, and, that was the way it was. And it was really good because after a few days, the baby forgets to latch on and doesn't know what to do. And she suggested this strange project, and I said, "Are you sure that's medically
admissible?
Legal? And are you sure about this?" And she said, "Yes, I'm sure." Because I said it sounds a bit weird. Bring the proof in for me tomorrow, and bring me some medical papers and stuff, or anything on research or anything on it. And then if it's there, I'll go ahead with your suggestions. And anyway, it was about getting the baby to be at the bottom of, where your feet are, and letting the baby smell you and get back. And she said, the baby's going to come. I said, he's only 5 days or 5 weeks or less old. How is he going to do that? And he said, let it be. Just watch. So the baby's going to be at the bottom end of the feet. And when he gets to the top, I'm going to tickle the bottom of his foot, and then he'll open his mouth and he'll latch on. And I was like, and she asked me to do something that was a bit strange. That was about taking all your clothes off. I was like, are you sure about this? But actually, she was brilliant. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have. And she was fantastic. So I think the work you do is absolutely.
So 3 cheers for all doulas. Yeah.
Thank you. And I think something you're saying, really feeds in with what we've just been talking about, creativity and religion and institutions, because what that doula helped you and your baby do was actually stop doing things that culture told you was right.
It gives you the support that you need that you might not have there in a traditional family.
But also allowed
in India,
your...
Italy,
Sorry.
you have tons of people helping you.
Yeah.
But as a British independent, it doesn't...
no family.
Yeah.
And you're... I think it fulfills that need for
Yeah.
having, and I've heard of lots of doctors and people who are my friends who have come from India and are here, and they don't have the granny. The
Okay,
man,
can I make a confession? I've been a doctor 39 years in Britain and quite a well-known GP. I did not know the word doula until I met this lady, Madhu.
Well, it's an interesting thing, doulas. I mean, in a way, I wish they weren't necessary. I wish we all had that care from our families and friends and midwives.
no, it's essential.
Yeah, at the moment we
wonderful,
don't.
Wonderful and inspiring.
Thank you.
And we still have a relationship with the lady. So
great,
fantastic.
It's good.
Oh, I'm delighted for you and your baby.
Thank you.
Can I just pick up on what she was saying?
Yes, please carry on.
I know you didn't hear, Leila. She's basically describing that her doula helped her and her baby display their natural instincts. We've got so confused.
Science has come and disturbed us.
Yes, and actually, humans, we are so intelligent right from the start. When we're still in the womb, and then for some reason, it's like when we're born, we have this desire to
divide, cut,
and then put on top our natural human instincts, which I think you can describe as spiritual, much of it. Babies are so wide open.
The clever little guys.
Intuitive perception.
Yes, and they know it all. And breastfeeding, so much. I mean, this woman was talking about how in India they really support new mothers.
Because the mothers, aunties,
they say the first 42 days of a woman's life correspond to of her life with a new baby correspond to the next 42 years of her health.
Wow.
So those 6 weeks, and I'm actually teaching a workshop tomorrow called Postnatal Bliss, which is trying to encourage couples when they're still pregnant to put in place the support for those first 6 weeks to make sure
Julie,
you're just going to fly.
There's so much I want to talk with you about. I went and met Pampa Sarkar, who's measured the mother's salivary cortisol and the baby's fetal cortisol from age 4.5 months, and they match. When the mother plate breaks and the mothers go, wah! Then the baby goes, wah! From the cortisol. So it is very important that the second half of the pregnancy, the mother should be looked after like a mother, not someone running around, but the exact opposite happens. All these women with big tummies rushing around. And then in Canada, where I was, they give a year's maternity leave because they value their future. Here, whether it's death or birth, 2 weeks and back to work, back to work.
It's just so I've studied quite a lot of Ayurveda, which I'm sure you I don't know if you guys are in that versed in Ayurveda, but it's kind of the holistic Indian, many thousands of years old.
Ayurveda is the science of life. It's not medicine.
Exactly. It's health. Yoga comes out of it, and why am I saying this? Just because because it's exactly what they say about when a woman is pregnant, you have to, and even in Britain, in European traditions, they say pregnant women should look at beautiful things, they should avoid stressful things.
Why? Because it reflects on the baby. Also, the mother's heart rate and the baby's heart rate are not exactly the same, but they'll match in simple ratios from 4.5 months. Because I've done heart rate variability. And as a midwife, and the baby's heart rate goes boom, 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 boom. That's a good heart rate. And the baby's heart rate goes boom, 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 boom is not a good one. So if we want to be young and healthy, like I am, you have to breathe like a baby. So I teach yoga on a laptop. Let's get back to music though.
Can have your song.
I used to practice yoga. I haven't done recently for different reasons.
It shows, but carry on.
So nice, isn't it?
Yes.
With a friend like that, you don't.
We don't need enemies, of course not.
And most of the things that we talk about here, I learned when I was about 21 years old. But it's been enhanced, and it's open and closed doors, which seems a contradiction in terms. But it isn't. There are certain things that I thought I knew and I didn't. And I'm learning still. And I shall learn to the day I die. But I learned certain things about spirituality. And the most important thing is love. Doesn't matter where you go. And sometimes it's really difficult. Especially when you got a neighbor like mine. All the rest of my neighbors are gorgeous, but this particular one is not nice.
You have to conquer this neighbor, and we'll talk about that neighbor again. Can we get some music out of him?
Okay. Can I just say something quickly? When I had my children, I realised that I always said it was the most creative thing I'd done. And I realised that it actually opened up the door to creativity because I didn't start writing again till after the birth of my children. Because it was such a beautiful experience.
I feel like going to the direction of misogyny. Is that what men are jealous of, that women can create and we can't?
There are theories that before,
there has to be.
Yeah, before patriarchy, there was a matriarchy and the men all got jealous.
Yes, I actually believe that. I believe there's so much to talk about. I will. I spoke to Professor Goldstein, the great Jewish guy in Manchester. And I said, I can explain to you why men are aggressive. He says they're swimming in the soup of estrogen in the mother and they're trying to remain a male. So they come out all hot and angry. Whereas women are with women, they come out peacefully. So I don't agree with you. And just a theory, It is possible. And I think misogyny comes from hating your own mother. But people pretend it's different. I think it's hatred of your own mother that you can't cope with, that you take it out on someone else's child, your wife. Anyway, shall we stop talking and do some music?
Food can change your way of...
Yeah.
I mean...
Food is medicine.
Yes, but before I left England, I used to eat English food. And then when I lived in the Middle East, in Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi.
I love that.
I love the way he says Qatar. Yes, but proper Arab man, how are we? From Syria.
My background, my ancestors fought at the Battle of Hastings. They were Normans.
Okay.
They also ruled in Lockerbie for 900 years. Then they fought for William Wallace and Robert the Bruce. And of course, when I lived in the Middle East, I knew a wonderful Palestinian friend of the family, Nisrani, Christian in Arabic. This man was wonderful, and he was the strongest man I ever saw in my life. Even at 60 years old, he could lift an iron bar with chunks of concrete, not these puny.
Grandma?
Well, the older people had something we lacked. And I said to him, I said, Michael, can I ask a favor of you? He said, yeah. I said, did you ever know anything about Lawrence of Arabia? And he said, yes, I did. He said, when I was a young man.
You went to Mecca?
No. We could have done. He actually, he said, I knew men who had ridden with Lawrence. I said, really? I said, and even then there were strange things being spoken about him. And I said, was he? And he said, no. He said, you know the word enigmatic? I said, I do. He said, he was like that. And the people who rode with him would walk on water for him. And you know the Bedou. Yeah. I mean, they can travel just without thinking across the desert, and still do, as far as I know. And I used to see camel trains, from southern Arabia right up through, to Esham, Damascus. And I said to him, what was he really like? And he said, nobody really knew him, but he could do what the Bedou did, and he lived with the people, and they loved him. They would walk on water for him. And that's what I always felt. And he said, in northern Syria, Deir, up there.
Never been there, but I've heard.
Oh, when it quietens down, you should travel to see it. And the people loved him, and he loved the people, and he was angry.
Sounds like Amma,
He really loved the people, and he was everywhere he went. He was welcome, and he was annoyed that the British government and America and France took over Lebanon and Lebanon, Syria, and Palestine and Iraq. And he was really, really, really annoyed about that.
Talking about love, shall we have some John Denver?
Yeah.
Just give us a bunch of John Denver, and then you can strum, and we can have somebody else singing. Go on.
Well,
give us a John Denver. Nobody else has heard it. And if you can swing the mic closer to his face and put the headphones on. I know you have an aversion to it, but then you won't know what's going on.
Doc, I was afraid of this. I never got a chance to tune it up because the cold weather and
Play.
No, but I cannot unless it's tuned properly, Doc.
Take your time.
Let's just...
While you're doing that,
so
apparently the Shah of Iran many years ago was taken to a concert at the Royal Festival Hall and played all the music and was asked at the end, what bit did you like the most? We'll get the orchestra to play it. And he said, the bit at the beginning. So the orchestra started playing the overture. He said, no, the bit before that.
The tuning up.
The tuning up.
Well, Ravi Shankar,
like Persian music.
Well, Ravi Shankar, when he went to the United Nations, the sitar has millions of strings.
Yeah.
And when he finished tuning, they all started clapping. He said, I haven't even started. So let's clap for Malcolm for the tuning up.
I used to listen to
let's play music.
Turkish and Arabic,
okay,
and Iranian music, because I had still have a lot of Iranian friends, and each one is different.
Okay.
Yes, very.
Okay, let's have some John Denver. Go on, fire away.
All my bags are packed, I'm ready to go. I'm standing here right by your door. Already I'm so lonesome I could cry. Oh, it's early morning and it's breaking dawn. The taxi's here and he's blowing his horn. I hate to wake you up to say goodbye. Oh, kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you wait for me. Oh, hold me like you never let me go. I'm leaving on a jet plane. I don't know when I'll be back again. Oh, I hate to go.
know when I'll be back again.
Oh, babe, I hate to go. One more time now. Will you kiss me once more now? Will you hold me now? I'll be on my way. Oh, now's the time has come at last. Now's the time has come to pass. Hold me now and I'll be on my way. Well, I'm waiting
On a jet plane, don't know when I'll be back again.
Oh, babe, I hate to go. Ooh.
Yay! That's for you, and 1 year for Julie as well. Very well harmonized. Hey man, you didn't just sing like normal, you sang in harmony. I'm just totally blown over. Well done. Well
Can I
done,
tell you
everyone.
one of my favourite things that ever happened to me in my life? So, yeah, I am. I'm going to tell you. I was once sitting on one of the overground trains in London, and this guy got on, like a dodgy-looking guy, one of the guys that everybody does not want to sit next to them, and you know that everyone's thinking that. And he came and he sat next to me. I'm like, okay. And he had these big headphones on. And apparently he was listening to the Beatles because he started singing along. And it must have been like the Beatles classic hits because everyone knew all the songs. So I just started harmonising because I know all the Beatles harmonies. And then two other people started singing along too. And then the whole train carriage.
It sounds like Esther Ranson.
Wow.
Esther Ranson at the show, isn't it?
And I like to secretly think he wasn't even listening to the Beatles. He was just singing and it was all a ploy. And it was just one of those heartwarming, you know, and I got off the train and everybody waved.
Fantastic.
Because music is such a universal thing. You know, Julie, I also teach Indian classical music in schools to English kids. But I'm not teaching them classical. I'm just saying there are 7 notes, as in you can take any instrument from any part of the world and play anything. If I write in Hindi, you won't read it until you learn. If I write in Urdu, you won't know. If you write in English, the Indian won't know. But when you sing, people can make out happy tunes and sad tunes. There's something very universal about music, food, friendship. These are such common themes. And it's so wonderful that you can start and you can harmonize and so on. So on Saturday, I'm going to take Malcolm to a show called Vishu Celebration. It's about Krishna. So it's about love. Krishna, the Lord who plays the flute. It's about love. So a couple of flute songs. I mean, he's so accomplished. I can just be there and he'll just find the scale. But then I have to find a flute, a handmade flute that matches the Western scale. But he's so good, he can tune into that. Because the scales are not exactly the same as Western notes because they're factory made and this is handmade. Yeah. So we're going to do that. And it's to bring people together. It's not about the food. It's not about the clothes. It's not about the filming. It's about people bringing from different religions. So I'm bringing the non-Hindus in. Every one of them. So come and sing, come and join, come and, it's in St. Basil's church. Basil and, what's it called? Basil and Rosemary. No? Basil, John and Basil, I think. The church in the corner with the St. Basil, which is that church, the very corner one?
James and Basil.
James and Basil, yes. So that's 6 to 9 p.m. this Saturday.
Right.
So you contact GB Gopalan on Facebook. If I want, I'll give you his number. So it's nice to have music because if you don't have music, it becomes too heady and intellectual and aggressive. But equally, I totally believe that we have to say things nobody wants to hear. Education is about saying things nobody wants to hear.
If people can hear it, though, because if, you know, you can say anything, but if no one's listening, you may as well maybe save your energy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do think it's important to say it. I know what you mean. Someone's got to say everything in a sense. All perspectives and opinions should be put forward. No one's more right than anyone else. I don't think that's why I was saying.
Because we have grown up in different climates. We've grown up with different values. We've grown up in different parts of the world with different cultures. Two people can be abused. One can become a saint. One can become an abuser. In a family of alcoholics, one son will become non-alcoholic completely. One will be neutral, and one will become an alcoholic. So we have choices.
Yeah, and it's different perspectives. We all have our own unique. No one can see in the way we see the world because it's the world we create around us. And I just wonder if you have a poem that fits with that.
Ooh, let's look. I've got a couple more.
What about myopia?
But
I don't think I do.
It's about touching people too.
Yes.
You know.
I don't think I do.
Reaching people.
Yes, touching the
The
heart,
spirit, the heart,
touching
the mind.
spirit,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
heart,
yeah.
the mind.
Sorry,
You got something?
People can say an awful lot, but people will react more to what you actually do. If the two don't agree, they will soon make a judgment about you. Your acts, although speaking is an act, but when it's got to balance with what you are inside.
Actually, me and my boyfriend were talking about this yesterday. He was saying, we can have these mantras in life, and I write a lot of inspirational poetry for people. And when I love myself, but unless you are living it at least slightly, it's tricky. So he was saying, you can say these mantras and affirmations, but
are you living
if you really don't believe them, it's tricky. So. But I don't think I have anything that resonates with what we're saying. I have more poetry if you'd like to hear it, but it's not related to that.
Take us onto a different path.
Julie, just finish your sentence.
Well, with mantras and the like I feel, I don't know, I've been studying yoga and the kind of things for maybe 25 years. I feel like with every day I'm only, that's what they meant.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what a mantra does. Oh, that's, it's...
So much to learn.
So much to learn.
You don't even look that old
mind-blowing.
when you said 25 years.
I'm not yet.
Anyway. That's another story.
And there's that phrase, fake it till you make it. But my teacher used to phrase it more like, just pretend. He said, even if you don't feel it at this point, start pretending the way you want to be.
Right.
And until it actually starts to gain momentum, and then you move into that. You move into that
and I feel
experience.
like that is one of the things I've only just started to understand. That, and I call it kind of leap of faith. I don't pretend. I just decide. I'm like, okay, so I want to be at peace with the universe.
And you become the piece of the universe.
And
the more you think, it's called the monkey mind. The more the mind gets in, it gets in the way.
You've got to grow into it.
Yeah. Well, Descartes spoiled us by saying, I think, therefore I am. I say I am, therefore I am. Where does the thought come in? Why do you need a thought? Just a waste of space. Just do it. Be it.
I love that.
Simple as that.
Exactly.
No, but people think too much because they're scared of each other. If I say this, what will he say? And in the minority community that I come from, Asians or Palestinians or Lebanese or Christians or whatever, what will I do? If I park my car there, what will the priest think? People worry about such nonsensical
I do agree with that.
non-entities.
We think too much, we worry too much.
Yes, it's until we drop the things of guilt and feeling ashamed, all those what we label as negative emotions teach us quite a lot, because when you're feeling guilty or ashamed or apologetic, then you're not really connecting, and it's an opportunity for you to recognize that and just take that leap of faith. And I'd love you to read something more.
Well, please do.
On that note, I will say, I only just started writing, and you talked about starting writing again. I only started writing after I was ill. I think I never really believed before because I wasn't fully connected to the truth of my skills, but now I love it. Not all the time, obviously, but most of the time I see it's a great gift, and I see it's very valuable. So this is linked to that. This is a poem I wrote last year, and I love this piece. And this is about ushering in or welcoming the springtime. And it's called Springtime. Daisy chain whispers of tree-lined ashes and stolen winter kiss. Come the spring, the raindrops shower the leaves with hued forgiveness. Bring back the winter, the staid call from their tarmac hearts. Let yellowness reign, call the lovers and the artists and the friends.
Very touching, and how appropriate that spring is here, though it's only 12 degrees outside.
I'm trying to usher it.
Yes, bring usher. Well, you have to. It's like a cesarean delivery, the forceps delivery of spring, isn't it? But there's advantages in Britain where the weather changes so suddenly. As some Scotsman says, there's nothing called bad weather, it's just bad clothes. It teaches you to adjust. Now I'm wearing all this and I'm fine, but there's a sweater in the car. So you have to prepare for the opportunity, isn't it?
Yes.
It's another opportunity. You might bump into people and do new things. Okay, Glen, you tell us what you make of poetry. I mean, you're much more about spiritual liberation, really, isn't it?
the words have a meaning. When words came into being, they were an expression of an activity, such as, just as a small example, I think they've got distorted a bit since, but when you chop down a tree, you hew it. Hew.
Yes.
It's that act of
Almost like
something.
onomatopoeic nearly.
Yeah. So that the words that come into being, are really an expression of activity, whether of the spirit or an act, a physical act.
Yes. So words represent action.
Yeah. So when the words are again spoken, it brings into the mind
That imagery of action.
That imagery of
Sure.
what
Yeah.
they originally meant. Or even though sometimes they are a bit distorted in modern parlance, but that is really the expression. And the more you can bring into the world expressions and words which generate beautiful pictures in the mind and feelings, then what are we here for?
You know, you and I met on the Speakers Club.
Yes.
Which I don't go to, it's too far and my mother's not well, so I don't. But they talk about word pictures.
Yes.
There's a whole exercise on word pictures.
Exactly, yes.
It's not about showing off your vocabulary or the...
No, it's bringing into the audience's mind what you wish them to understand.
Isn't poetry a very powerful way of the same thing?
I was going to say I find that really interesting because I realised only the other day, I think. I've realised a couple of times, but it really hit home that I see words. Yeah, you see them as images, don't you? And then you must write it that way.
Exactly.
Oh, I've seen a purple flower. Not always, but yeah, it's very
So
visual.
in a way, a word, because I think writing is an awful thing to do. And because I think video is all. Because man started writing and it's so unnatural. You have to have joining writing. You spend so much time on spelling. Because vocal communication, only 6-7% is text.
Right.
38% is tone. Good morning. How are you? Good morning. And how are you today? Are completely different communications. Though the lawyers make a lot of money because they don't put the rest of it. It's only the tip of the iceberg you see in the writing. So, but video is closest, but face to face is the correct one. Face to face, you're really communicating. The 5 of us, 6 of us are actually communicating in a more intimate way than if we were phoning, which is better, or texting, which is atrocious. When you text, you have to do emoticons. You can make so much negative meanings when the guy or the woman means it as a joke or something, isn't it? So miscommunication. So really, I think words will go one day. It'll all be visual.
Don't say that.
It will. I promise you it will.
No, I feel that all communication is equal, and even
No.
texting,
I'm saying as the world moves on,
yeah,
HMV has died, Kodak has died.
One day. Well, yeah.
Books will go. There'll be nothing called books, you know.
I mean, one day.
No. Well, listen to a traditionalist
One
here.
day, yeah.
Books will go. There'll be nothing called books. You got a Kindle.
I've got a Kindle, but
Why?
I very rarely use it.
Because you're a Luddite, you don't want to move on.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Because the spoken...
I'm with you.
Oh, no, you will. Oh, yes, I
The
won't.
spoken word evokes pictures in the mind.
Yes.
And if that ever goes, so will mankind.
So how does your book give pictures? It's the moving pictures I'm talking about, not your silly books made of
writing
paper.
The story of my life. And what I was telling you about the Middle East is going into it.
Yeah.
I heard a wonderful story. Let me reiterate. I've been looking for the lady that told me the story.
Okay.
And this was in 1908, and they use it. They still talk about it in the family. And there were a line of children, and in those days they used to sort of stand in a line together from the schoolyard. And in those days, obviously, nobody would dare, thank God, harm a child. And there was one day that a little friend had died, and her name was Alice. And when this lady was telling me this story, I could see what was happening. I didn't just hear it; I could see it in front of me. And I've met angels, and that looked like just you and me. And as I was telling people about that, I thought one day the Holy One is going to teach me a gentle lesson about this. He's going to show me that there are little angels with wings, or great angels with wings. And this was the story that told me, just gently. And I'm so grateful to him. And the little children, the sky was dark. The evening came over. And then it lit up. And these little angels with wings flew across in front of them. And their little friend was there with them with wings. And they had hold of her arms gently. and they were escorting her into heaven. And suddenly, the little friend turned around and smiled at them, full face, and they went, "Oh, there's Alice, look." And I said, "Wait a minute, she's dead, though." And of course, this started to be afraid, and they went to the houses, and they knocked on the doors. "Will you take us home? Will you take us? We've just seen something." And of course, it was a gift from the Holy One. Whatever you call him, or whoever you call him, it was his gift to those little ones. And it was also to teach me that he was saying, "Hey, smartass, you don't know everything. You don't know everything," And I thought, bless you, thank you so much.
Can I just have a word just about?
Yeah.
We were talking about books, and they evoke pictures, the words in the pictures. If I read this book, all the same book, then you read it. You read it.
Yeah.
You read it.
Yes, I know what you're going to say.
Yeah. The pictures
can be different.
Are individual to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But if you say that it all comes down to pictures, but then if you have a picture like the telly, that's somebody else's picture.
Yes, it's somebody interpreting for you.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is wrong.
So the only person who understands Leila's poem is Leila in the moment at that time. That is absolutely correct.
That's her
Nobody else can actually capture it. But she's giving a sense to us, and we go into our own worlds. Like if I say ship, I might see a little boat in Patna in the Ganges.
Yeah.
You might see something in the Mississippi with your American accent. She might see the Tyne. No, we all see different things. So a ship is not one.
The only other thing about that, sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
Is if we could, and it might happen that the human race does eventually come to this, communicate with each other through spirit, so that we see what your picture is, what my picture is, then we can come to an agreement.
Much better than it is
We
today.
will have much more harmony.
Hopefully we won't ever have a war, ever, because we truly understand each other.
Yeah.
But then would it be fun as well? Because it isn't some of the fun of it that we
Having
don't
wars?
know what each perspective is.
No, but then an extreme form of that is killing. An extreme form of difference of opinion is what leads to division. And that's where I'm against any institution. Because ultimately we are the same person. You know that the difference between us and a gorilla is 1% in genetically. The difference between an African elephant, Indian elephant is 40%. So we are much more similar. But man creates different species of dogs. It's the same damn animal. We like division. There's something fundamentally flawed in our personality.
We are united. Really
Some
are we?
people. All my life, from being a child, I loved the differences. And I thought, I can learn from this. Now, when you were reading that lovely poem, the both of them, I got pictures. And the second one was very ethereal. And I'm thinking, I'm up in the sky, just above the trees. And there's a slight gentle wind blowing the trees, and the words were just gently touching, like little fingers, like leaves, touching my cheek or touching my hand. This is what it felt for me. Yeah. Now, I was singing out there, and you think this was all right. It was clear as a bell. The acoustics are wonderful out there. And it was literally just as good as John's was. Yeah. And there was one day I was playing in South Shields, and this huge fella came over, and I thought, what's this? And he said, put it there. Shook my hand. And he said, thank. And I thought, great. And he says, you made my wife cry. And I thought, I'm dead. No. Good thing. And I thought, I'm dead. I'm in trouble. And he said, no. He said, I've been married to that woman for 26 years, and I've never seen her cry. And he said, do it as much as you can. He said, you see her? And she's sitting there with two of her features. He says, you see those big lads beside her? I said, yeah. He says, if you have any trouble, just give us a nod, and they'll be out on the next as soon as you talk.
There's not a nicer moment, I think. That's
and I used to do this all the time. People used to say, how do you do that? But then I picked songs that I knew I would touch people with. And people would go, when I came tonight, I wasn't sure that I'd be really happy. Are you going to be here next week? Because it was a folk club. And originally I used to finger pick, bluegrass style.
Yeah, bluegrass.
I used to do that on a 12-string and a 6-string. But the gentleman upstairs, and I mean the Holy One, bless him, he said, no, you've got to go back to plectrum playing. I haven't done that since I was 17 years old. And I thought, well, if he knows it's right,
That's your path, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I went back to it, and I found it much easier than the other way. I knew you were right, and even if I hadn't known he was right, I would have still done it because I knew enough I knew to trust him because he never let me down.
That's creation as well, isn't it? It's that instinct and trusting it, I think.
Everything that is created, whether it's hand or mentality, and anything of this kind, is creating.
Yeah.
And if it has a spiritual touch to it, all the better.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can see these sculptures, Greek sculptures, and you see them and you think, mind, I was a bit of a barbarian, and I've always, you know, I'm being a bit of a historian as well, and a very good detective. And I went to see the Elgin marbles in the you know, in the British Museum. And I'm sorry, I thought, is that it?
It's sometimes like that, isn't it? When you
that it?
or certain things you see.
Some of that's
It's out of context, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, there's certain ones, and you can see the muscles and the Lycaon, you know, the Trojan, and his son.
Oh, you're not on it?
I just went to see The Woman in Gold, the new film with Helen Mirren and Ryan Reynolds. Klimt. Yes, Gustav Klimt painted this woman's aunt's portrait, and the Nazis stole all the artwork when they in Vienna from her family, and when her own sister died, she decided to try and pursue it and get the artwork back. And it's a story of that, but it's interesting because for her, it was a picture of her aunt, the only connection she had with her family. Whereas to the museum, it was a historic piece of paintwork. And eventually she won. And I think it was because of the passion that they had and the purity of their intention. And it actually did leave Vienna in the end. It's in New York now. Wow. Yeah.
It's nice when those things happen.
Yes.
I like Gustav Klimt a lot.
Wasn't it that she didn't want to leave? Because I think her lawyer said, "Look, we're not going to get any further with this." She says, "No, I'm not leaving Vienna until I've got it sorted."
No, she had to leave and go back. It's quite a convoluted story.
Yeah.
And it's not straightforward, and you can see the times where she walked out and gave up on it at one point.
Did she?
But it was the lawyer who said he went. Well, I don't know how much. I think it's fairly accurate from what I've read.
Yeah.
He actually went back to Vienna, and she said, "I'm not going back again because the memories are too much."
Wow.
She said, "You can go, but I'm not coming."
Yes.
But then she did go, and she said, "Last time I came for this time I've come for you."
Oh, excellent!
Yeah.
Excellent. Wonderful.
The spiritual art endeavours, when you put your whole spirit into it, that is what endures. Yeah. And all the circumstances around it, even if they go around, it will still endure because the laws of the universe demand that it endures because you've put the spirit into it.
Yeah, who can take it out?
Yeah. And that's why when we were talking about goals earlier, for me, intention feels more appropriate for me because goal does feel almost like a stop. You know, you get there and that's it.
And that's it,
You're finished.
Yeah.
But intention is a process, and you may have stopping off points along those intentions may lead somewhere, and then you move on from there.
Because intention is kind of, it's enjoying the journey, isn't it?
Yes.
The deliciousness of the journey, whereas money and riches, although I want those, of course I do, I'm a human, but that's an end point. I know what you mean. It's not a...
Then you start looking for something else.
I think if you look
you haven't satisfied yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
If you look for money and riches as an end point, then I think that's when they fail. They're more facilitating you.
Or fuel.
Yeah.
Yes, fuel for your journey.
The tools to use on your journey.
Definitely.
But even money and riches can have a positive effect.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
It's if you don't use them for the right reasons.
In the right way, yeah.
You know,
I think money is very spiritual and it's very positive to want money. I don't think it's a bad thing to want to be rich.
Yeah.
No.
So long as you don't put that first.
Somebody once said to me, I don't know where I was, But they said, you're very spiritual. I said, well, I try to be. And she says, money has never really bothered you, has it? I said, not really. I said, but and she turned around, she said, you would use money, not just for your personal things, but for others.
Yeah.
And I said, yes. And a friend of mine, who is part Gypsy and part Jewish, he had a dream, and it has yet to be fulfilled. And all my life, I've always known that I had something to do. And I never knew what it was, even to this day, but I've got a good idea. I have a love in pure holiness for children. I would give my life for a child to protect it from any harm. And there was one day, the dream was that you will, I was in another country, I wasn't here, and I was feeding people. And I was in a white robe or a white shirt or something, and there was a blue, blue sky. Now, and there was no clouds in it. And that blue sky, and the friend of mine who came from Africa, he was the only one that could interpret it. Normally I can interpret dreams, but I didn't know what this one meant. And the friend of mine, he didn't know until this lad came from Gambia. And he had the tribal whatnots. And I said, do you see things? He said, yes. I saw Walking Dead when I was young. And they put the tribal protection scars on his face. And he said, now I just know things that are happening. I said, yeah, I know they're feeling well. Because my family had the second sight in it from the Highlands. And he turned around and I said, look, Solomon, would you, Christian lad, he could have been anything, but I said, would you interpret this for me? He said, oh, yeah. You will be rich. He said, but you won't use the riches for yourself. You use it for other people. He said, you'll be healthy. I said, you're not at the moment, are you? I said, no, I'm not. He said, but you will be healthy and you'll be wealthy. And a lot of people would benefit from your success. And I thought, thank you. And I've kept that inside. And I sometimes when I'm sitting in that room, I look out. I said to Doc, did I not, the other week? I said, Doc, this seems like it's in any country of the world. You know, it could be Greece, it could be Cyprus, it could be Turkey.
What, room number 1?
Yeah, in there, my friend, yes. And Doc will tell you. And I said, it just feels like eternal. You know, a moment in time.
Yeah.
And I can see it there again. That moment is there again.
Well, it is bringing people together without a hidden agenda.
Indeed.
Because most meetings have an agenda.
Yes.
And that is why I don't believe I've been a very successful doctor, because I don't have goals.
Yeah.
I don't try to please the government. I do my best to displease them.
Yeah.
Julie knows she works in the health service. It's such a beautiful idea, so badly delivered, isn't it?
Yeah.
The product is not bad. Okay, Western medicine is not perfect. It's just full of symptom relief. Yeah. But you should give the professional a chance to profess, to do their own bit. Yeah. But more and more time is passing. We are curtailed and we are castrated and kind of administered and kind of cut down to size. And for every clinical worker, there's 4 times as many non-clinical. Well, we do need people to clean the theaters, but there's so much middle management who decides on a new idea. And the health service has been running perfectly well, but let's change it so it makes the little worker bees scuttle and run around like civil servants.
Yeah.
But we are not civil servants. We are doctors who really want to help. We are nurses, we are doctors, we are midwives, we are health visitors, we are pharmacists. We want to work for the people. We enjoy them.
You're absolutely right. Doc, what does a person do if they've got an irrigation thing and it becomes clogged up? They dig it out and free it. And this is what needs to be done with it. But they won't do anything. I went to Africa now, and I fed some children in Kenya with my own money, nobody else's. And there was this lady said to me, she introduced me to a fellow who worked in the government. He wasn't a nice man. And she said to him, she said, get this guy into the government. She says, now I guarantee you within 6 months, he will have wiped away corruption. She said, you would, wouldn't you? I said, yes, I would, because I know exactly what to do. I wouldn't have anybody working for me who was corrupt. It wouldn't matter if it was my own mother, brother, sister. It wouldn't matter who it was. I wouldn't. And she turned around. She says, what's your IQ? I said, well, it's 163.
We have a minute left to close the show.
And she says, to the fellow, she says, get him in. She said, and you'll be very, very pleased. And he went, oh, yeah. And I thought, and I looked at him because I'm very good at judging people. I don't sit in judgment. I know if I can talk to him. And I looked at him and I thought, no, he won't. And he didn't. But she would have done. And she was just clever. And I said, may I ask your name? May I ask what you do for a living? She said, I'm a school teacher. I said, you should be in government, my darling, as president. You know?
Okay, we have come to the end of the show. There's lots of things happening. For instance, the main computer that runs the music has died. I've tried swapping monitors in the meantime, but we'll fix that if I can after the show. So thank you very much, Julie, for being the wonderful singer, Dula. God, no. The word Dulha means husband in Hindi.
It means husband.
Husband, yeah. Dulha. So you're being the husband to the midwife is being the husband, and husbanding really means loving and supporting and caring. If you look at the good sense of it. Then we come to Leila, who is a wonderful on the spot poet, which we haven't tested out today, but she's brought some gorgeous. And then you have Malcolm, who did a wonderful piece on music. We've got Glen. There's I, who can't shut up, and there's Risaria, who's had a wonderful experience at the Sage. And when I mount this, I'll take the earlier recording of yours and put it on. Right. And we thank Madhu for her phone call.
Yes.
And thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Second, yes. And we talked about doulas. That's the first time I ever heard a doula when I spoke with her. Yeah. I never knew what a GP in this country didn't know what doula was. Shows how little our width of experience is. With that beautiful thought, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good morning, Risaria. Nice to see you. I saw you coming in today, and I wondered how long Doc would be. And of course, he wasn't long in coming. He appeared out of the concrete again, as usual. And I thought, and I wondered what your week had been like, and how many things had gone right, and how many things had gone wrong.
The last week's been phenomenal. I started to appreciate things that I thought weren't working, and it's been transformational. And part of it includes my premiere coat. I bought this because I was on the metro going home and thought, don't feel like going home. What would make me feel better? And I thought, go to the beach. So I stayed on the same train, got off, saw the vintage shop opposite Seaburn Metro, and walked in, and I bought a vintage writing bag. And then the woman said to me, why don't you try this on? I tried some things in a shop, and this fitted perfectly. And I remembered thinking that when I'd been to a premiere at the Tyneside Cinema, it was black tie, and I didn't have a coat that felt suitable. So I thought, this is my premiere coat. And I bought it. It made me feel so good just carrying this around. And then the magic started to happen, because I had a phone call from a director I work with who said the film projects are starting to roll, contracts are being signed. I also had, earlier in the week, met a woman who I thought, I want to support her. She is launched a product on Source TV called Orgasm Your Way to Prosperity. And I thought, this is perfect, and the timing is perfect, because in
Spice FM's Facebook page, facebook.com/Spice FM.
For the community, by the community.
Very good afternoon. Don't answer all at once. Risaria, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Okay,
Doug.
come closer to the mic though. And how are the two gentlemen doing? Our regular features. They're not guests. They're not hosts. They're ghosts. But no, sorry, joke. So how are you, sir, today? Malcolm.
Not too bad.
How
Very
bad?
well.
How bad?
Very well.
Okay.
Very well.
We have to go against the grain, Glen, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
By saying I'm not bad. So come a little closer to the mic. I put it up as much as I can.
Yeah, sure.
That's perfect. Yes, that'll do for all of us.
Yeah, I'm fine. Just
So what's been up with you, Glen?
oh, I'm busy making things. As you, I don't know whether you know or not, but I do quite a bit of woodwork.
You told us, yes.
And I've been making a reading desk and a stand for a chalice.
My God, you're that good. I was thinking this morning when I was a little boy and couldn't afford an electric guitar. I took a Taisho Koto, which Malcolm knows about, I've mentioned.
Yeah.
And I put a Dodge or Chevrolet handle and I was playing it.
Yeah.
And then I got a whole guitar made. I was just thinking today, not about you, I didn't remember that aspect of you, about the carpenter who cut it into a guitar shape. So the bottom looked guitarish, but the rest was a solid fat body, all polished. And you know, there's a certain craft in all these things, which we're losing. It's all now machine made where? In China.
Yeah.
So it's all machines.
Yeah.
So we are losing the human skill of language. We are losing the human skill of hands doing things like painters. What do you think, Malcolm?
No, not fully, Doc.
No.
As far as I know, there was two companies founded about 50 years ago. One was Dalmash, and one was another German name.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, they're still around, and they make acoustic, ancient things like a lute and the medieval pipes and stuff like that. And they also make guitars too. And as far as I know, they're still around. But I must do my research to check up and see that that's
No, but
correct.
that's one specific excellent example you gave. But generally, there are very few Glens around who actually delve into carpentry. Would you say that, Glen?
Well, yeah. What I don't agree with total handmake, because otherwise some of the best would only be affordable by
the
the
richest.
elite.
Yes.
Now, if you use machines to bring it to a certain stage and then finish it by hand, then that, I think, is the best way forward.
Yeah. So you can have two. Like if I want to buy something, I look it in the real shops. I'm a bit of a cheat.
Yeah.
And then buy it on the internet.
Yeah.
Because unless you've handled it, you know, things look...
Can't get the feel of it.
Yeah. Because, you know, that takes me back to Indian habits of eating with the hand. The knife and the fork don't tell you whether it's going to burn your tongue. But, you know, the hand, actually, there's some pleasure.
The last time I was in church in Durham, it's a lovely black and white church, and as I was coming away, somebody said, "Oh, somebody's giving you a present," and I know the lady in question. She's Indian, and she and her family are lovely. She's been very, very nice, and they said she bought you a present, and when I looked in the bag, and it was something that I'd wanted for a long time. And I could afford it, but I had so many things to pay for that it had to wait. And it was a lovely, long, black, formal men's coat. And I thought, pardon?
Tails.
Yeah, no. Just, you know.
I see. Yeah.
You know,
Full length.
Yeah. It's a winter coat. And I looked and I said, "Will you thank her so much with all my heart and all my soul?" I said, "That is a lovely."
So the price tag doesn't matter. It's who's given it with what intent.
With what intent?
Yes.
And it was so lovely, and I knew that she'd gone to a lot of trouble.
I was chatting with Madhu about Madhu, who does the shows on Saturdays. You've commented on her as well. You met her as well.
Yeah.
We were talking about giving.
Yeah.
I said, it's no use giving to someone who doesn't need it or want it.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you leave the room, it'll be in the bin.
Yeah.
Or they'll take the thing, take off the sticker, put a new sticker on, and pass it to the next wedding thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if you give to someone who really needs it.
Yeah.
So she and I, at 2 a.m, about 2 years ago, were crossing the Tyne Bridge. And there was a man standing at 2 a.m,
Yes.
looking at the water below.
Yeah.
And she's very generous. She says, "Oh, go and talk to him." I said, I'm a doctor, you know. I know there are risks in these things. So very slowly I approached him. I said, "You walk behind me." I said, "I'm a doctor. Can I help you?" That is quite a calming thing to say.
Indeed.
So I went up to him, stood next to him, and I said, "You look a bit tired." He said, "Yes, I haven't slept much." I said, "And when have you eaten last?" He says, 3 days ago. Now my mind started saying, "Oh, he's a druggie. He spends all his money on alcohol, this and that."
Yes.
But my heart said, "Rubbish." I put my hand in the pocket. Unfortunately, it was a 20-pound note. I thought it was a $5. I just gave it to him. So we went round the roundabout a couple of times and came back all the way. And he wasn't there. So I know I've given with love. Whether he takes drugs, whether he's gone and use the money to do a ramage. I don't care. I've just given it.
Yeah.
Same thing happened in the Gurdwara.
Yeah.
You were collecting, as I've said, for the Everest expedition of Excelsior. They collected 780 pounds within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like just throwing money like it's rubbish paper. And when I said, I'll count, he said, what for? I said, receipt. He said, what receipt? We've given it in love. What you do with it is your karma.
Yeah.
Risaria, you were saying something. I feel like a class monitor saying, you next. What are you saying?
Well, when you said who needs it, I thought, but it's not necessarily need in a... It's who appreciates it.
Yes.
And this is what the woman who, Amanda, who's coming on the show today.
Not Amanda Molloy.
No, Amanda Goldston. Amanda Karen G. Spot Goldston.
What a name and a half.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay. So she's coming on via Skype or?
She's Skyping in. She's on Skype now waiting for us to call her in.
Okay. But she's ready and...
She's
willing
ready,
to talk.
yes.
Okay. So let's
see if we can find
make the
her.
lady wait. Hello, Amanda.
Hang on, we need to ring her.
Oh, you need to ring. Okay, so you're not that much.
Just
Okay.
before you, just about that question of need, it isn't always that somebody needs the money. If they're standing there, they need an approach by somebody.
Yes. And this is what I feel about Amanda, because I didn't feel, hello, Amanda, lovely to see you.
Okay. Can you guys see her on the screen?
No.
Okay, I'll raise that. You talk to Amanda.
Yes.
Hi, Amanda.
Hello. Yes. I saw Amanda has launched a new product on Source TV.
What is Source TV?
Source TV was set up by Rachel Elner and Kevin Stein. Rachel was the first female dragon on Dragon's Den.
All right.
But she set up Source TV as a platform for people who are spiritual business people with spiritual products and who are thought leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll find a lot of law of attraction based products there, yoga, meditation.
Yeah.
There's a really broad range. Rachel's Business Alchemy, she has various products of bringing the spirituality into business. And I was fascinated by Amanda's product because she calls it Orgasm Your Way to Prosperity.
What is that? About sex? How
So-
dare you? Oh, no, just carry on. Well, can you see her now?
Yeah.
Yes,
Can you-
yes.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I want to help promote this, so I like it. But I watched the video and I thought, £8 for 8 videos on Orgasm Your Way to Prosperity. And I thought, it's a bargain. So I bought it. And then I thought, let's have Amanda on the show.
Excellent.
So where is Amanda sitting just now? Apart from on our computer.
Where are you at today, Amanda? Can you hear us?
Say something. We can hear you.
Yeah, he's in front of the computer in my home. Can you hear me?
Yes. Are you in Tamworth?
The line's a bit stuttery.
Tamworth in the Midlands, yes.
Right. Yes. So this woman in the Midlands, this very homely, happily married woman, is launching a product, and you said that it's it's the chapter in the Napoleon's Hill book, Think and Grow Rich, that people seem to miss. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. It's the 11th chapter, and it's called The 10th Step to Riches. And Napoleon Hill describes it as the energy of sex transmutation. And it was written in the 1930s, geared largely towards a very male-oriented audience. But his basic idea is that our sexual energies are our life force energies. And these are actually the energies that really are the most powerful things in creating success. And he talks about that in combining that with love and romance. And he talks about the most successful men of the time. Not only were all very highly sexed, but they all had generally the love of a woman that they were doing everything for. So they were creating their fortunes. And what I've actually done with all of this is take that whole same idea and make it a lot more relevant for particularly women today, but for everybody. And where I think that's actually the missing piece, the whole law of attraction thing, is because a lot of the law of attraction stuff is either up in the head or in the heart, but where the real magic happens is where you can actually get all those powerful energies flowing in your body. And that's where you really become so much more magnetic to success. So hence this was the, if you like, the birth of orgasm, your way to prosperity. It certainly gets people talking with the title.
So Amanda, in a way, if I'm talking the chakras, you know the Indian chakras, the 7 chakras? From the middle chakra, you brought it down to the power chakra, the sexual chakra. And in India, they used to call it raising the kundalini, which is exactly the same thing as you're doing. So you're adding that power. Now, sex is just one aspect of it, but the sexual energy is the same. And when you say, I was thinking about, and all because she's gone.
We've lost her.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think this line was very poor. So
yes, I'll try again.
if you want. It's not going to be, let it remain like that.
Okay.
So we'll talk amongst ourselves and try her again in case the broadband. I mean, it's easy to get China and Austria, but getting Tamworth, doing in Birmingham is hard. So, all because the lady loves Cadbury's. Now, that's a very small thing to say, but the Medusa's head to win the woman's heart, it's not just about the woman, it's proving you're a man. And by man, I mean woman as well. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying male man. No. I'm talking about women who achieve. I'm talking about Maggie Thatchers of this world, Indira Gandhis of this, Srimavu Bandaranaike, Golda Meir, Rani Jhansi, you, Madhu, any woman, my mother, any woman who succeeds has that energy. She doesn't have to express it sexually in one of these nightclubs and go and have sex. No. The energy and the drive is the same. It's like a car. To me, a car is a car. Whether you use it for ram raid or saving someone's life or an ambulance or go and kill someone with it, it's just a car. We give it value. So sexual energy is an energy. It's a life force.
Absolutely.
So in India, we have Shiva's shivling. It's Shiva's willy, penis.
But the other name for the Kundalini is the coiled serpent.
Yes. It is the coiled serpent that awakes. Again, to me, it's a metaphor. I don't want to explain it by measuring it with a laser gun. All I'm saying, it's a spring. Glen, would you agree? It's a psychic energy.
It's energy. All comes from the human.
So you go to the south of India and actually eat with your hands, actually touching, feeling the texture. It's a very sensuous thing, It's like playing with clay. Risaria, would you agree that actually handling things at paint and acrylic paint or whatever with your hands is different from what I do on a computer? Click, 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 done.
Yes, it's totally different. I hadn't thought of that about food because, of course, I never thought of it being useful for the temperature of the food.
Yes. So when you eat or taste, you smell it, you see it, you taste it, you touch it. What else can you do? What's the other sense? One, hear it. You hear it crack, pop, crackle, pop, and all that stuff.
And there's one more thing. It also brings people together.
Food does.
Yes.
Well,
especially if you eat together.
Yes.
Well, panas means bread. Com means together. So companion means somebody who breaks bread.
Absolutely.
In Punjabi, they say roti todni hai. We're going to break bread together, which is what Jesus also said.
Absolutely.
So the Punjabis are very much like Jesus. We are like.
I've noticed the resemblance.
Okay. So, we were in the other room and we made a short film about what you've been doing, which we'll load up and overload on this one so people can see that Risaria has 2 sets of clothes at least. She's getting richer by the day.
Oh, great.
So I believe you went to the vintage shop. Vintage shop means where the queen does her shopping,
Well, I mean, we're just laughing about this because if you call it a second-hand shop, it has a very different feel to saying a vintage shop. And it's beautifully arranged, this one in Seaburn, because they have vintage handbags and shoes. And I wanted a bag to carry a writing journal in. So I bought that and tried clothes on. And then the woman said, I think this would suit you.
Just like that?
Just like that. It was in the window on display. And I said, oh, it's beautiful. But my mind's going, it's white.
Are you color prejudiced? I'm brown, but carry on.
And she said, it's your size. And I thought, how does she know? And she said, I had somebody in last week and it swamped her. She said, try it on.
So she was calling you overweight?
No, she said it fit.
Okay.
And I said, this looks like a premiere coat, because we'd been to a premiere of Three Rhythms.
Okay.
Yes.
Teen Tal. That's the Hindi movie.
Yes,
Yeah.
Teen Tal, the new
Made
movie.
by Shakirul.
Yeah. And it was wonderful. It was a black tie occasion. And I was wearing a coat that was definitely not for a black tie occasion. And I thought, this would be great for premieres.
All right. So you got a coat for a very special occasion.
For very special occasions.
And you got how much did you pay for it?
This was £70.
As a normal price, it would be had you gone to Marks and Spencer's and.
Be more than double that, 150. I would have thought.
So you still got a quality coat. I mean, you spent a fair amount on it. It wasn't like a $5, like in the Scope shop.
Can I mention something similar, if I may?
Well, you bought a ladies' coat as well.
No. No.
His no is very loud.